special video of Panilla JJ. I'm Jade, and I'm here with Joe. Um,
Hey,
yeah, we're
and I
here.
just want to say that I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Exactly. As you may have no doubt read on the screen, the point of this video is to issue a challenge to the developers of Panilla Saga to listen to what we in the community as a whole are saying about the Envoy of Yggdrasil update. The update has been out for almost 2 weeks now, and we've had a lot of time to analyze it and really hone in on, I think, a lot of people's initial upset reaction and what has caused it. So basically in this video, we are going to go over the patch changes, what we think about them. We're going to go over how that has impacted our advice to players, really quickly cover our feelings on the future of Panilla Saga, and also, because we want to be constructive, we're going to give some ideas of what we would do to fix the patch and, kind of make the game go in a direction that we think would be good for it. So, overview of the patch changes. Joe, I'll let you start here with the good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, a few of these changes have really increased our access to limited heroes. So, more heroes were added to Dusklight Emporium, both uh, for arena medals and for the chessboard currency. So that's really good. In addition, most of the limited heroes were added to the regular summon banner, and all of the limited Abyss and Temple heroes were added to the Starflame Court. So there are no more limited Abyss or Temple heroes. So that's a
Yeah.
really big benefit because honestly, unless you were spending a lot of money or saving for basically the entire existence of the game, the limited Starflame units basically just didn't exist. Like you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get Sif, couldn't get Hlock. They were not heroes to even have on your radar unless you spent a lot of money or you saved for the last 6 months. So the fact that they are now units to care about is really great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then a few smaller changes. There is a new Abyss boss. That's that's nice. Something new to think about. I
Actually,
haven't
three.
really looked into the new Abyss bosses much,
Mm-hmm.
but they are there, and I am excited to just see what they do and figure out a team to work around their mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the new total combat power readout is honestly really cool. And question for you, because I'm just interested. Did you know that every step that you spend XP and gold on and in Sage Academy after level 240, did you realize that that
Nope.
increased your combat
I
power?
did not think it mattered until you leveled. Now we know differently. Now we know,
Now we know
every time.
differently.
So it's worth doing every time because you get that little tiny bit of power.
Yeah. So honestly, that feels really good. I like the way that that comes up every time you do anything.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that doesn't feel good is when you spend the crystals for um, the skill level ups for your artifact and you get 11 combat
11.
power. That does not feel good. But
Yes, they are
but
very small.
yeah, that's really funny. And then the new languages, which is just awesome that new players
Mm-hmm.
can play this game because those new languages were added.
Exactly. So, like we said, there, we are approaching this because we want to be, as fair as we can. Like, we definitely want to get into what we did not like and what we think was very wrong about this patch. But there are good things, and that I think is important when we hope to encourage the developers to open more of a dialogue with the community, is to be fair to them as far as we can. So,
Yeah. And spoiler alert, we're going to spend most of this video not talking about the good
yeah,
things. So I
true.
don't want to leave the impression that we either didn't like the fact that all of those changes were made or we ignored them or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, those are all good changes. They say good things about the future of the game. But in our opinion, they are vastly overshadowed by what we're going to talk about next.
Yep. And so we come to the neutral. The first one is the balance changes to a few heroes. I mean, it's one of those things that I think we both agreed was it was nice that they're paying attention to that, but it really doesn't change most players' day-to-day experience because most the majority of the players don't have a lot of the heroes that got changed as far as like using them in like arena or journey, etc. So it was kind of like it's there and it's nice that they're trying to pay attention to it. It's fine.
The one big thing with balance changes is that this game is really kind of a zero-sum game where the only battles you have are between your 5 units and either an AI's 5 units or another player's 5 units. So a
Hmm.
balance change is never like a boon to players or an improvement to the
Mm,
general economy or anything in the game, because inevitably if they buffed your guys, it also buffed your opponent's guys. And
mm,
in general, if they're buffing weaker heroes, that's because or that's not going to help you because you probably didn't build those weaker heroes. So,
yeah,
like, at best, a balance change is like an indication that they care about the hero balance in the game and not like a big benefit to any individual player.
true. And then the other one, they did add the new Four Seasons rotating event, which again is fine. It does give us access to some more stuff, but it is very much balanced out by what they took away, which is what we will get to next, which is the bad. So I think I'll let you handle this one again, Joe. Go for it.
Yeah, sure. So, Haiteng was added to the Starflame Court, which, people have different feelings on, but honestly, because she's now in competition with Freya as a support in Starflame Court, she's honestly kind of been removed from existence. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't recommend anyone go for Haiteng over Freya, even though Freya takes longer to build. Um, so that kind of while that's kind of cool that they did that, it kind of lowers the identity of the Starflame Court since
Yeah.
now there is a Draconic unit there, and because of the role she fills, she's just completely overshadowed by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then Jokers can no longer be used to add mythic stars. This is a really big impact on the economy for free to play and low spending players, because now instead of only needing 4 copies of a unit to max them out, as long as you're willing to spend the time to dedicate to them, you now need at least 14.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to spend like 3 times the resources, 4 times the resources just summoning copies to get them maxed out, which genuinely means you won't get them maxed out. So,
Yeah.
for established players like me and like Jade, that means that if in order for a new hero that comes out to even be worth our time, we need to be dedicating a huge amount of resources to just get them up to like 2, 3 star before we would even seriously consider putting them on our team. So where before it could be like, oh, I'll throw some diamonds, and if I get lucky, I might be able to get 4 copies, and then I can build them slowly over time. I did that with Ayano, Jade. I'm sure you've done that with other
Mm-hmm.
units, and that's kind of not an option anymore. Now it's
Yep.
you need to dedicate a serious amount of resources on banner when the hero comes out, or honestly, you should just avoid the banner completely.
Yep.
Um, and we understand there are reasons why they did this for really established players who now like have a huge suite of 5 star mythic units and they're now just pumping out jokers. They kind of lose any value and you just kind of saving to like instantly 5 star another unit. So
Mm-hmm.
I understand why they're worried about that in terms of how it's impacting the economy, but I think the change they made did not
It.
improve the situation. it,
Yeah.
it,
It.
it it was a big swing in the other direction.
Yeah. It hurt more of the less established players far more than it really worried us. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
basically, it means like we can now throw our jokers around pretty willy nilly,
Mm-hmm.
um, because they're just no longer have that much value to us. But then we also are not interested in pulling on the regular summon banner or other banners because the reward of getting more jokers just doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
So for the next two, they removed the choice up and the limited banners, and instead they added the star ring and the star necklace banner. And I want to spend a little bit of time here because I think a naive reading would say, well, why isn't this neutral? They basically just changed the names of these banners. They tweak them a little bit so they look more like Starflame than like the regular summons. But this is actually a huge nerf.
Mm-hmm.
So these banners, although they look like the Starflame banner, the other things you can get outside of the hero are much, much worse. So if you would get like 5 stacks of dust, you now get 2 stacks of dust, or where you got two uh piles of XP, you now get 1 pile of XP. where you used to have like 4 or 5% to get a ticket to give you a unit, you now have a fraction of a percent chance. So what that means is where on the old limited and choice ups, every miss was fodder. In
Mm-hmm.
the new one, you're getting almost no fodder as you're
Yeah.
moving up the chain. You're getting tiny amounts of resources, and that's it. So your 1 or 2 summons are really going to give you no benefit. And then even then, they put a 20 summon restriction for spending diamonds. You can only spend 20 summons a day. That's if the banner's up for 7 days, that's 140 summons total, which is only 2 copies of the unit.
Yeah.
Um, so that means that like you can no longer like save up a ton of diamonds, like 100k diamonds, and just dump them all on a unit like Colo, who's really good, or a new unit that you're excited about. And that just reflects even worse on the fact that they changed the Jokers, which basically made it so that unless you are spending money on the star rings and star necklaces, then there's no way for you to build a unit the first time they come out.
Yeah.
So you need to you kind of need to gamble on them having a rerun pretty soon after, and you need to save up for both.
Yep.
Which really cuts down on like impulse pulling, and also cuts down on our ability to recommend someone use them at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then on top of that, star rings specifically, they kind of did a switcheroo where star rings are where the limited units are, but you do not get star rings from events. So some event shops have them where you can purchase them, but they are like the choice up tickets where you didn't really get them inherently. You had to go out and you needed to spend your event shop currency on them.
Yeah.
So you're just not going to have a lot of star rings, which means you're not going to have a lot of opportunities to summon for these limited heroes. So unless you're like 1 or 2 copies away from maxing out a hero, I would never recommend pulling on the star ring banner.
Well, and
Um,
they also nerfed the event currency rewards. They are less now. It is not very possible to buy the star rings from the events anymore unless you spend money. That's another
yeah,
thing we talked about.
yeah, you would need to like spend. You would basically get 10, and that would be the entirety of your
Yeah.
event shop rewards. Um, which is just not a good long term plan
Investment.
if
Yeah.
you're trying to build your
Mm-hmm.
team. So that is why those are in the bad. Then on top of that, they reduced the milestone rewards for diamonds down to 50. So they used to be for starting out, it was like 240 to 480. It tapered off a little as you leveled up into the higher chapters. But this is a huge deal because it was actually a ton of diamonds, and they really cut it down. You're
Yeah.
getting almost nothing from that anymore. That means for established players like Jade and I, we have no real reason to continue pushing Journey because there just isn't that much reward to it. It no longer feels good to get that extra little diamond boost, but for new players, that means you have way less diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
There is no replacement for these diamonds if you're a free to play player. They're
Mm-hmm.
just gone. You do not get them. That also means existing players that were around before this change, we have a huge leg up. We have tens of thousands of diamonds that you won't get as a new player because we had the good fortune of getting 30 chapters into the game while we had the good milestone
Yeah.
rewards. Um,
Like
so that's a big disadvantage for new players.
it's hard to overstate how much less that is. I mean, that's like literally like a fifth of what people got before. It's so low.
It's so low. It is really, really low. And then the last thing, as we hit on briefly, they seriously nerfed the rewards from our special events. So before this change, we used to get free copies of units. We no longer get free copies of units, and we get at least if this the last few events are anything to go by, we get much less event currency.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a free to play player in the event, like a fifth of the event currency we normally
Yeah.
get, like an extremely low amount, to the point where like looking at the event shop is a joke. You will not be able to afford a single copy of the event of like the event unit or any other unit or really anything besides like maybe a single set of tickets or a single pile of dust or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really a complete joke. So they really nerfed the general rewards we get from these release events.
Hmm. They really did, and it doesn't, like we said, it doesn't make a lot of sense to us because it basically is. It's almost like they're pushing people away from wanting to even try to get units built. Like they limited diamond summons. They are not giving one copy, which in the grand scheme of like leveling up a unit, like starring them up, one copy is nothing. Like it really, it's just an like, to me it seemed clear before that what they were doing was they were whetting people's appetites, saying yes, you can get a few free copies to get you started, and hey, here's spend some more money and you can actually probably use the unit soon. And that seems to me like the way you would want to do it in a gacha game. So to me, these changes are somewhat mystifying. But
Yeah, I completely agree. Um,
so.
so that was what we felt were the bad changes, but really, not only were some of the changes bad, but the patch was missing a lot of what we felt needed to keep this game going. So
Mhm.
Jade, please take us through the missing
Yeah,
changes.
and by far the biggest one was they, this update Envoy of Yggdrasil, they were telling us about it for months, like honestly, like at least 2 months, maybe more. They were, slowly revealing what they were going to change. They were, really hyping it up, and I was excited. Like I was like, it really seems like they want to put a lot of work into the game. It's going to be, it should be. I'm hoping it's going to be fun. Like, none of the stuff they revealed was like like super over the top. Like I was excited about Freya. I think everybody was, but when it came out, the biggest thing to me was just like it was right there. Like there was no new gameplay. The only thing that you could qualify as that is the like there's three new abyss bosses, I believe. And that's good. That is a little bit, but when you look at how much they hyped this up and what this was like almost marketed as, there's nothing. Like there's nothing new for established players to work towards. As you can see by number 2. And to me that seems like, again, it's kind of a mystifying change because established players are are starting to look for things to do in the game. Like, we have our teams, we know what we teams to do in the Abyss, we have our PvP setups. We're pushing towards the end of the journey chapters. Special ops the same way, and like, all the other gotcha games I've played, pretty much, like when they do updates like this, they almost always do something like that, where they add a new area or a new way to play that uses new resources that gives you new power ups, so that you start working towards those things, and then you're even stronger and you can conquer the new challenges. And like, it's not like we expected like a whole different game. It's just something like that seems like an obvious thing you would do, and it really was, again, it just really was missing. Like there's like nothing like that. And it really it's one of the things that has really disappointed us and honestly made us nervous for the future of the game, because with the way they nerfed a lot of the in-game rewards, the way they changed all the limited summoning events, like we're going to kind of get into that here really quick, so I don't want to spoil it, but they it really seems like they're going in a different direction than we would hope. And then they had the 1,000 ticket summon event, which was basically 10 free tickets a day, and that was really good, especially for new players, because as Joe's already mentioned a couple times, uh, fodder is incredibly important, especially for new people, and there just is not enough anymore. Like I think one thing we've said to each other was, if a new player were to look at one of the established players' accounts, they would think that most people are whaling based on how many 5-star mythics they have, because they would not see how they would get all that fodder. Like, so the new players need that. Established players don't necessarily need it, like really far along ones, but even like the middle of the pack, like, if they want to continue advancing their heroes, like to get up into some of the higher like challenges of the game, they still need, those fodder. Like, there needed to be a replacement for that. And then the one thing they actually did promise straight up was war logs for the Guild Wars and the Lion War, and they just didn't do it. It's just not there. So those were the things we felt were missing. Just a replacement for the 1K regular summon ticket event. Like it could be a lot of things, but it needed one. Like fodder is a huge choking point. Like it's a not like a slowdown point like you would expect in a gotcha game. It's more like a wall that there's no way for players to get around. So go back to Joe here for what all these changes have meant for our advice to players.
So what this comes down to for players, not just new players, but also existing players who aren't either big spenders who aren't already super established, already in that, chapter 29 to 31 range where they already kind of have their units and they're well set up. Um, this patch is going to mean less diamonds for everyone. Um, it's going to mean less available limited units. It's going to mean no ability to hoard diamonds for the next big important unit. And it's going to mean a serious lack of fodder. I cannot overstate how much less fodder you're getting now than you were when we had the 10 regular summon units per day, and then you also had the limited and choice up banners that you could summon on as other ways to get fodder. Taking all of that into our account, our new advice is to basically ignore all of those special summon banners. Stick to regular summons. Build Yorimasa, build Pawn, build Ingrid, build your classic boring good DPS carries. Ignore limited units completely, and then when you do get star necklaces from events or from whatever, spend them on Starflame units. In that
Mm-hmm.
star necklace um, summoned, you can get Starflame units there. So don't build the new unit. It's not worth it. You won't be able to use them to work on your Starflame units. Build
Mm-hmm.
Freya, build Skogul, build Hygomi. Um, those are the units that you should stick with. I really hope this changes, because basically what I'm telling players to do is ignore the cool new stuff. We
Mm-hmm.
want to be excited about the cool new stuff, but our advice is to ignore the cool new stuff, build the safe, boring stuff, get regular summon tickets, get your wish list set up, because those are the units that you can actually safely build
Mm-hmm. In reasonable amounts of time, basically.
in a reasonable amount of time. Unless you want to spend 7 months on a limited unit, which I can't recommend anyone do. Like
Yeah,
7 months from now, maybe Colo isn't even meta anymore. Like
yeah.
there's no way. Like how many games do you play 7 months down the line? Like it's so
They
yeah,
change, yeah.
they change. So yeah.
So yeah, and that rolls into our feelings on the future of this game. We, as you can see in underlined bold text, we can no longer in good conscience recommend spending money on Panilla Saga, and we urge all members of the community to stop in-game spending as well until the developers prove that this is not them squeezing as much money as they can out of the game before abandoning it. The changes that they have made, along with the release of the SEA, the Asian server, which has brought in a lot of new players for them, the only thing that this adds up that we can tell is that they nerfed everything that new players get so that new players on those servers will spend more money, but they added no new goals for existing players, nowhere to go. It does not at this point seem like they are making a plan for the future of this game. It seems like they have released it in a new region so that they can make money off it, hopefully, and basically force spending to get any cool units, and then probably abandon the game. That is, it makes me sad to say that, but that really is the only conclusion we have been able to draw from the changes they've made.
I completely agree. I think the big indicator is that they removed sources of diamonds and they added sinks for diamonds. So they added places to spend your diamonds, but the only places that they added to get more diamonds are all buying them for real money. I think it's clear to me that what they're trying to do is they're extending the treadmill. They're making sure it takes longer to build a specific unit you want, takes longer to get the hot new thing, but they missed any chance to put a new thing on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Existing players have nothing to shoot for. You already said that, but I want to highlight that because that's honestly the biggest gripe. That's how you lose your end game players, is you give them nothing to do. Why would I spend money building Rook
Yeah.
when Rook isn't getting me anything in the game. Like all that would be is like a cool meme unit to throw around in PvP on occasion, but like
Hmm.
it's not getting me anything. It's not moving me towards any goal
Yeah.
I could possibly have in the game.
Hmm.
So it seems to me like what they're trying to do is hide the fact that they haven't changed the game at all, extend the length that they feel like they can feed us the same content over and over so that they can just get the last few bits out of it. And they'll be like, hey, here's some cheap diamonds, but it's fine because you have nothing you can spend it on. There's nothing that will improve your team. And you're just kind of waiting on hope that there's something coming in the future. But I mean, we're at the end. We don't see anything.
Yep. Yep. That is the way it is. But as we said in the
I
beginning of the video, oh, sorry, go, Joe.
I do want to say one more thing there because I also acknowledge that it is not our business to tell people what to do with their money, but people do ask us, "Hey, I want to spend money on this game. What's the
Hmm.
best value? What can I do?" And our response to those people is, "Don't spend money on the game.
Yeah.
If you want our opinion is nowhere is worth it because we don't see a long-term future for this game. And until we see it, you're going to spend that money, and then a month from now, either the game is going to be waning or you're not going to be wanting to play it anymore, and we just don't want that.
Hmm.
What we want for the game is we want to be excited for the future of the game. We want to spend money and then feel good about the money we spent.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily about like investing in the game or whatever, but it's feeling like the game respects us as players, so we'll respect it as the game.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think this is one thing that we've mentioned too before in our videos is like, you know, this is not this game is not supposed to give everything to players for free, and we don't expect it to. Like like Joe said, we just want to see that, we want to see them set it up so that spending money gets us, we can say, oh yeah, if I spend money now, I can see where it's going to get me. There's these new things I could get to faster if I want to. If I don't, that's okay. Like, that's how gotcha games work. They constantly offer you ways to spend money to speed up your progress a little. The problem is, like as Joe said, there's just nowhere to speed the progress up to anymore.
Yeah.
So, but like, yeah.
So we'll go into how we want to fix it, or Jade will go into how
Yeah.
you want to fix it. And just to be clear with everyone, we have no insider influence. We have no insider knowledge. We are members of the community, so we do not have any sort of illusion like the steps we have aligned here are what they're going to do. They have no reason to listen to us. I think maybe they should. I think nothing that we say here will come as a surprise to anyone. But for us, when we're talking about what we need to feel comfortable spending money on this game again, or to feel like this is a community that's in here for the long haul, this is kind of what we think is needed in order to feel like, okay, this game does have a future. This game is worth spending money on and building guides for and building content for, because we think this is a game we could be playing a year from now.
Hmm. And yeah, and so that's what we said at the beginning. Like, we're not here just to like rant and rave. We want to be constructive, and so here we are. How we would fix it if we were in charge. The biggest and most obvious first step is clear communication with the community. Um, there right now it just feels like we don't hear much. Uh, you know, from the developers in response to what we do. It feels like uh, that the like head guild leaders, like the larger guild leaders, have more of a way to get information that gets trickled down. It doesn't feel good when it's like that. Um, so, setting up clear communication in the Discord, like a clear like funnel of here's what we're sharing with everyone. We're not going to share it with only the top guild leaders who then share it only with their guilds. Like, that doesn't make anybody feel good. Like, I'm lucky, and Joe and I are lucky enough to be in one of the top guilds, and so we get some insider info that other people just don't get in the official Discord, which is frankly weird. Like,
It's
I
really
don't I
weird.
don't understand why there's not just transparency. But starting to set up the clear communication would be one, apologizing for the changes. Like, hey, maybe just say, hey, we're sorry, like, we had a direction we were going, here's why. Explain the intent behind these changes. Like, you know a lot of the players of your game are intelligent people. Your game has a lot of mechanics that really reward a lot of thinking and in-depth analyzation, which is why we like the game. So like we understand, like, if you were like, hey, yeah, we needed to do something financially, like, great, be transparent about that stuff. Like, it goes a long ways. You'd be surprised. And the next step after that would be to just lay out a clear roadmap for the future of the game. Like, if you have new content, new goals, farther places for us to go, tell us now. Like, give us a roadmap for when you want to get that stuff going, because right now we don't see it, and so we feel like there is no road. So starting those
Absolutely.
with that a map, that would be great.
Yeah. Like 1 and 2 here are really getting the community on your side.
Mm-hmm.
I the fact that they're gone, they're basically a punching bag. Like all of the complaints, everything leveled at the developers and publishers of this game, like there is no answer to that because they're silent.
Yeah,
And explaining the intent kind of gets us thinking on the same level as them. And then that third one, laying out the roadmap for the future, get us excited, man.
yeah,
Like if
seriously,
if we're not excited and we are clashing with the changes you made, then vague promises trickled through guild leaders are not going to satisfy anyone.
it's true. So for the next one, the short-term changes that we would make would be, first off, revert the nerf to the milestone rewards. That is only hurting your new players. It, gonna cause a huge rift between established players and your new ones. Because people are still new to global. People are still downloading your game and trying it. Like, we get new players in our guild. We see them in the Discord. Um, and then removing the 20 diamond summon limit on the new banners would be another really easy short-term change to kind of give us some hope. Like, okay, you are not gonna like literally force only people to spend actual, like, a good chunk of actual money to get one limited unit. Like, you know, and then renew the 1K regular summon event, or some other way to provide fanner the well to provide the fodder that's missing from the new banners. Change event rewards to allow access to star rings. The event rewards are something that I think should be looked at in general, but a very quick change would be changing the event rewards to give better access to the star rings in them. Again, encouraging people to maybe spend a little money in the events because they want more, because they can see that they can get enough star rings, numbers, whatever, to make a difference in the next banner that they want to pull on. And then 5, add in the warlogs. That, again, this was one of the very specific things that was promised with this update, and it really hurt, I think, a lot of trust in the community that it just wasn't there. For long-term changes, we will throw it back to Joe because I've been talking for a while.
The first thing, which as a longtime player, this is what's important to me, is work on new content for us. This is the sign that this is the biggest thing that tells us that the company doesn't have long-term visions about the game, because there's a cliff at endgame and there's just nothing there. All we're doing is grinding legendary mana converters and pushing potential to 40. And I, I get that that is a long-term goal, and that that's something that was exciting to me 3 months ago, but there's nothing for me anymore. Like it is only if you aren't interested in PvP, there's nothing keeping you in the game. And that's really a shame because we do really like the game. So give us new ways to itemize, strategize, give us new things to think about, a new goal to work for, a new game mode to master. The last update had holy waters, which has only come around twice, but at least it was something new. It was something that kind of made us think about the game in just a slightly new way. um,
Mhm.
so and just kind of the point B there to highlight that is new ways to spend money is not content. I think
Yeah.
that this is a thing that kind of that grinds my gears a little bit. For all of these new events, they give you this overworld map with like 8 to 10 locations to click on, and like 6 of them are moving you to screens to spend money. And like some of those are spending diamonds, the rest are spending a cash shop. But like you go to an event, you're like, wow, look, there's 8 things to do, but that's a lie. There's 1 to 2 things to do, and most of those are extremely shallow. The rest of those are moving you into shop screen.
Mhm.
And that's not new content. New content to me is things that force me to actually play the game where I'm building 5 units and I'm battling other units and I'm trying to maximize damage, I'm trying to stay alive, I'm trying to think about the mechanics of the game rather than playing mini games and clicking a button that gives me a reward and then spending currency on a different resource. That to me is not the core of the game.
Hmm.
Uh, the second long-term change, and this is something that we think is, especially if they're feeling a monetary squeeze, is just leverage cosmetic options more. I feel like the skin shop is so underutilized, and the art in this game is so good. The characters in this game are so unique. All of the skill animations and everything are so exciting and so cool to players that it, like, spending more time leveraging skins, getting more novelty, giving more ways for players to flex on their opponents in PvP or their guild mates. Like, people love spending money on cosmetics. I have spent so much money on Path of Exile cosmetics that like don't improve my damage 2%, they improve my damage 0%. But I do it because I like the game, and two, I want my character to look cool.
Yeah.
And if you give me ways to make my character to look cool, I'll be excited about it. I think that is the thing, because when you squeeze me for resources, you don't make me want to spend money. You make me frustrated. You make me want to quit.
Yep.
The way I like to look at it is, what I want to do is I want to be like, okay, I'm enjoying this game. I want to spend X amount of dollars. Then I look in the shop and I think, what does X amount of dollars get me in this game? And honestly, a a cool skin for a hero I like that kind of lets me look cool matter that purchase will make me feel better long term than X amount of currency, which
Hmm.
is now kind of the recommended purchase for any amount of money. One idea that Jade had was just give a pass, like a monthly pass or something, that gives you more skin currency for the wheels, so, or more spinning opportunities for the wheels, so you
Yeah.
get like a slight bump to your resources and an increased chance to get the skin. And then it just like keeps players who are interested in skins invested in the game.
Hmm.
So like honestly, that's kind of that's a big surprise, that as something that they've underutilized.
Yeah.
Um, and then our third note there, adding catch-up mechanisms for new players. The one thing, kind of an indicator of a healthy game, is a game that wants to pull in new players, introduce them to the game, and then get them up to speed quickly. There's always going to be dropouts at the top end. You're slowly going to lose people there, and in an AFK game like that, like, new players need some way to catch up. Like, I know you want to reward existing players, but like, I need to be seeing new people in arena or new people in throne wars. If it's always the same people every time and it's always the same number one, number two, everyone who's not the number one or number two, they're gonna think that, that the game doesn't have a future.
Yeah.
Um, and then four is kind of tying it back to the beginning about clear communication, is continuing to add quality of life based on player feedback. I understand that feedback, or that the suggestions feed in the main Discord, is sometimes a meme with the types of suggestions people give. There's no there's no realistic way to add everything that people tell you, but just being like, hey, we heard you, a lot of you are giving us this feedback, here's this, nice little thing to
Hmm.
to to make us feel better. Like, hey, we're extending the rewards for something that the community really liked, or we're bringing back this event that the community really liked, or like little things like that. They don't need to be big, they don't
Yeah.
need to majorly impact the economy, but they make us feel listened to.
Or we've seen people saying, "Gosh, you have all these game modes that we need different rosters for, but we only have like 8 roster spots or 10. We could really use more."
Hmm.
Seriously, stuff like that. Simple things like, as far as, I mean, I'm not a programmer, but I, I I think stuff like that could be easy to do. And if it's not possible, a simple explanation of why, like, hey, we can't do this with our current like setup. We are gonna look at some like workarounds, or can we come? I mean, can you imagine if some people, if we all request, like, lots of people are asking for something, and you're like, hey, unfortunately we can't because of this. Like, there's the way the game's set up, we can't easily make that change. But if you come up with like a workaround, that like builds so much trust with your community because everybody feels listened to, even if you didn't give what we want, the exact thing we said. It showed that you cared, as you cared enough about your people that are like supporting your game to actually put in some effort.
Yeah.
Yep, and that pretty much brings us to our closing comment, Joe. Uh, the truth is, Panilla Saga, we really still like the game. Like, we are very unhappy with this new update. We are very unhappy for what it signals for the future of Panilla Saga, and it sucks because this gotcha game has the level of interesting character, the level of interesting mechanics that I didn't even know I was looking for until I played it. And I don't even know what I want to, theoretically, if we were to quit the game, I don't know where I would go next because I would be comparing it to this. And so to me, that is why I'm really hoping that if if anybody in the development team or anybody at the company that makes the game sees this video or pays attention to the Discord, I would really like to see that because I really like the game still, and I know Joe does too.
Yeah, honestly, it's a shame. I want to keep playing the game. I want to keep interacting with the community. I want to keep making videos. I'm really liking all of that, but I don't see myself continuing to do those things if I don't see the game growing alongside.
Yep.
Like I would I wouldn't play I wouldn't play a single player story game that has a definite end. I wouldn't be there for 6 months, you know,
Yeah.
talking about and theorizing over the game. The game has an end. And right now I feel like this game has an end.
Yep.
And I don't see that changing ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that's not true. I hope we at least can get some sort of insight onto what the future of this game holds and why we can be excited. Otherwise, we won't be around to find out.
Yep. And that brings us to the very last thing to say in the video, which is unlike our other videos, we are going to post this in the guides section of the Discord because we feel like more people will see it, one, and two, what we really encourage anyone who watches this to do is to put a comment on the guide, on this post in the guide channel, saying what you would like changed or you agree or that you're unhappy, because the more voices we get, the more likely, it is that someone will take notice and listen. Maybe it's too late. I don't know. I hope not. But I mean, I like the game enough to try, and if you like the game enough to try, a comment wouldn't hurt. So,
And honestly, maybe you're fuming this whole time. Maybe we missed something obvious that you'd like to add on to. Maybe you think we are not giving the devs and the publishers enough credit. Maybe you think that we're being too hard on the game. And you know what? Tell us where we're wrong. Like
mm,
I would love a bigger conversation on this because like honestly, this is a guide. Like this I I hope that a new player watching this, even if they are in love with the game, they can at least be like, oh, well, if I do want to keep playing, at least I can, focus on regular summons. I can go for these units that the two of us at least think are really strong and can define a team.
can
And
be built.
hopefully, some of the things that we talked about, they can look towards those. And if they do come up, that can give them some assurances that maybe
Mm,
this game does have a future.
yep. So, thank you everyone for watching. We really appreciate you, and we will see where the game goes from here.